Welcome everybody. In case this is your first call with us, how these Q&As usually work is we're going to start off with a little bit of a mini topic. Today we're going to be talking about how to automate requests and follow-ups in the client portal, so there's a little bit less manual that you're required to do. And then we'll roll into open questions. So if you have been struggling with an area of Keeper, you need somebody to brainstorm with and troubleshoot with. Or if you just want to be a fly on the wall and maybe get some inspiration, hear about a couple new features you may not have known how to dabble in, perfectly fine. All is welcome. So we'll go ahead and get started with a topic. I do want to let you guys know anything in the chat we'll go through. So feel free to pop any questions in there. We'll kind of go through in order as we see them after this topic. And then to anybody who's new to Keeper or maybe new to any of these features, sometimes this can feel a little bit like drinking from a water hose. So feel free to pop a question in, raise your hand, let us know like, hey, actually, can you slow down a little bit? Can you give that to me one more time? Can you answer this tiny question so I understand how this feature works? We want to make sure that everybody here is getting what you need to out of this call, whether that's getting some inspiration or asking a question. So please feel free to slow us down. We're not trying to go way too fast, but we love Keeper and sometimes we can get a little bit excited. So slow us down if needed to. And with that, I think that's all of my kind of intro announcements. Like I said, feel free to pop anything in the chat as we're going through. But Jody, let's kick it off on how to start automating things within the client portal.
Absolutely. So as you just mentioned, today's Keeper feature that we're going to be highlighting is automating client requests and follow-ups, which is why we asked in the start who out there is using the client portal. And I love to see in the chat how many people are using it and how many people's clients have embraced it. For those of you who haven't used it yet, or if you're struggling with your clients to use the client portal, we're happy to address that after the presentation and help kind of brainstorm some ideas on how to get those clients on board. Some topic highlights for today is we'll be talking about that automating recurring client requests. We'll talk about setting up automated follow-ups for open questions, customizing those reminders, and then go over a few of those common FAQs before we open up for full questions. So diving right in, automating requests, we have the opportunity in the client portal to do recurring questions, and these can be used to schedule frequent requests for your client. So those are going to be things like static document requests, something that you frequently send to them over and over again. This is not the space for questions or comments on specific transactions or something that's a one-time request. So the first step in automating this process is, of course, setting those reoccurring questions. So this is done at the client level. And as I mentioned, you can ask for anything that's repeated. So feel free to pop in the comments ideas or questions that you might be using if you're currently using recurring questions. I've got some examples here on the slide. Bank statements are one of the most popular for reoccurring questions because we need them every month. If you're not able to pull them yourself and you have to have the client do that, recurring questions really comes in handy because then the question constantly goes out each month and you don't have to worry about reaching out to them. So of course you got to look at the frequency. How often are you going to be asking those questions? But the beauty is there is a way to set it and forget it so that it can just work for you in the background. Where to create these reoccurring questions. We will open up our demo account later to show you and walk right through it, but wanted to give you a quick screen grab of where that's found. So when you're inside your client portal, you'll come to that client communication area. From here, you'll click on the non-transaction question section, and then you're going to click the reoccurring questions button. From here, you'll add a recurring question, and this is what it'll look like. You can pop in your question here. You can even give it a tag if you want to, set the frequency, the start date, and then schedule it.
Now, this is an area.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll actually pop in to help with this one. This is an area that gets really isn't the most intuitive. So let's break this down. When you go to set your frequency, there's two options. there's weekly and monthly. But that
Yep.
doesn't mean that's all we're limited to. So we wanted to kind of cover what that actually looks like because you can set bi-weekly or quarterly or annually, like some of you are asking in the chat. So weekly, pretty standard. Select your weekly option and then each 1 week. Bi-weekly, just increase that to 2. We
Oops.
can even set no sweat. We can even set this for every 6 weeks if you have something like that. So use that use that weekly and then adjust from there. Same idea with monthly. So if we're doing monthly every 1 month, super simple. Quarterly every 3 months, annually every 12, and then just select the day that you want it to go out.
And with that day option, the drop down here will give you the day of the week, or you can just say the day and you can select what day of the month, whether that's the last day of the month or you choose a number. Like this one shows the 15th of the month. So that's where you can play around with the frequency and get creative on how you want those to repopulate in the client portal. Before we continue, let's go over a couple of the frequently asked questions when it comes to recurring questions. So we did already talk about the frequency. One of the limitations is that you cannot set it to be a daily question. So that is one limitation. But first off, can you use this for for unconnected clients? Absolutely, yes. That client portal is there and available. And because these are housed in the non-transaction question area, it's easy to use for all of your clients. Can you create templates for reoccurring questions? No, not at this time, but it is a popular request. So there is a feature request out there in Canny. Erica, if we have it, do we want to pop it into the chat?
Yep,
If you
I've
guys want to
actually got it,
upvote
so
it,
I'll pop it
it'll be there.
directly into the
Yeah.
chat.
We'll also have it as part of our follow-up email after the Q&A today. So feel free to upvote that and we'll encourage Keeper to add those to their template section. Additional limitations, you cannot attach documents to the reoccurring template, to the reoccurring question. However, once that question goes live, so say it's scheduled to go on the 15th, you're not going to be able to add an attachment to it on the 14th because it hasn't been added to the portal yet. But on the 15th, once it's added, then if you want to go in and pop an attachment on there, you can. Finally, clients are not automatically notified when those questions become active and go live in the portal. That's where it's helpful to have some additional automation set up. Otherwise, we would highly recommend that you have a task to remind yourself to send the manual reminder to alert that client. So as we walk through automating this process, we've already done step 1, set the reoccurring questions. Next, it's going to be scheduling the reminders. This is done at the practice level. We do not have the capabilities to change this from client to client. So whatever day and time you choose for your reminders, that will be the day and time that any client who has it enabled will receive them. You can set up to 2 reminders. They both will use the exact same reminder email or text template. And the only people who will get those reminders are the ones that have that feature enabled and have unanswered questions inside their client portal. Where to schedule those? That's going to be in your practice settings under the client portal, and it's going to be that first tab, reminders. So here you can set your frequency, when you want that to happen, and the time that you want to happen, and the time zone, which is kind of nice. Once you click save, you will have the option to set a second reminder. And that will look exactly the same as this. So you can set another frequency for that one.
Just to pop in a little bit of kind of anecdotal, I know a lot of questions come up around, okay, so I know I can set them up, but how do other people use this? Like what's common here? Most commonly, I see questions or automated reminders go out on Monday. So you're catching anything that hasn't been answered the week before and kind of getting an email in at the top of the week to try to get through kind of that email inbox on your client side. If you're doing two, I've really commonly seen Monday and Thursday. That way you're able to catch them on that Thursday, hopefully before kind of the end of the week. There's still a little bit of business time. If they're working on the weekends, you might be able to catch them then. And again, it'll go out Monday and Thursday if it's not answered. So I think that's the kind of key thing here to remember, because I think a lot of people get
Yes.
nervous about setting multiple reminders. This will only go out if that person still hasn't answered the question or has any open questions.
Correct. All right, now that we've set the recurring questions, we've set up our reminders. Now it's time to customize the reminders. So we have email reminders and text reminders available. To customize your emails, you'll go to templates, select the emails, and then you're going to look for the one that's called reminder email. It will have this note underneath it, just like you can see here, that says this is the email that will be sent to your clients if you enable automated reminders. You cannot select a different email from those templates, but you can customize this email. So you can change the subject line, you can change everything about the body of it to make it whatever suits your needs. But you have to do it on the reminder email, one that is tagged that. This is the default message, of course. Similarly, for your text messages, if you're utilizing that, it's going to be under templates on the text tab, and you'll see that there's a reminder text here. Again, you can edit the body of this to put in whatever notes that you want. And here's some examples of people that we've seen who have customized their emails or their text. Thank you to Jill. Shout out to her for her fun bookkeeping bot, Bob. She's really made it a lighthearted thing with her clients to send those reminders. I know we saw a lot of that on the Facebook group where she's explaining that, which I think is so fun. And she felt like it took the pressure off of her. And so it's Bob that's reminding them. So you can have fun with those if that's the personality of your firm, go for it. But you can edit these to make that as well. Let's see. All right. So last portion
Actually,
here. Oh, go
Can we go
ahead.
back for just
Yeah.
1 second? Sorry, I had one more thing to add.
Yeah.
If you tend to work with clients who have multiple businesses, that's just something that you typically run
Yes.
into. This may be, you may want to add in that merge tag or that variable that pulls in the actual business name associated with that account. That can help for clarity's sake. Again, it's the same Magic Portal link. To get there, you can toggle between, but sometimes that adds more clarity for clients who may have multiple businesses, just so that they can get in the right head frame to actually answer that question for the right business.
Yeah. And you'll see here too that some people don't put in that this is a reminder. They make it just be a standard, hey, you have questions in the portal for you. At the footer of mine for my bookkeeping business, below, I think it's below my signature, I have in there that they will continue to get reminders so long as there's unanswered questions in the portal. So they know if they keep seeing the same message over and over again, I have that little footnote to be like, you're gonna keep getting these until all of your questions are answered. Okay, now that we have everything set up and prepped and ready to go, it's time to enable the client portal reminders. So this is something that you can do client by client. You'll go into your practice settings. You're going to go to all client settings. From here, you can come to this column here that says client portal reminders, and you can turn on email or text. You can do this for your whole list at one time. But if you're inside a client and you want to turn it on for that particular client, you can also do this at the client level. So inside the client, you'll click on the portal and then come to portal settings. And then here's where you can enable the email and or text reminders. We had some fun out of the box examples of other ways that you can use recurring questions. Things like check-in meetings with that scheduling link. So if you check in with them every quarter, you could have a recurring question that says, hi client, please schedule our quarterly meeting, and have the link there. You could also request feedback or reviews from your clients using that on whatever frequency you request reviews for. Messages to acknowledge special things like the client sign-on anniversary or their birthday, or even annual renewal reminders that they need to do with the Secretary of State. So there's a wide variety, and you can get creative and think outside the box here for how you utilize those. One thing that we don't have right now is what we mentioned before, that this is not the space for those one-offs because we can't take a one-off question and schedule it for later. That's another canny request that is out there, another feature request that's been put into place and on Keeper's radar. But this would be something that you would want to recur at some point. All right, so that's a really quick walkthrough of all of it. What questions do you have about automating client communication and follow-ups?
Jody, we've got one,
Yeah.
a really good one. So, as far as you understand, do the text reminders go out with the same frequency of the
Yes.
emails? I believe that you're setting kind of whatever, that's the same frequency on both, correct?
Yes. Let me go back to that slide of where to schedule them. So you'll see that on the scheduling section here, there's not an option of whether it's an email or a text. So it will push out both if both are enabled for the same client.
Perfect. Thank you. And then we've seen a couple other really good examples that I'll throw out. So petty cash balance confirmation, I think that's a really lovely one. If that's something that you handle with your clients. We've seen that tax return, if you are keeping or handling any of those secure documents or passing them along to anybody on your team, that can be really helpful as well. Oh yeah, Chriselle, we can definitely go back. Jody, do you mind going back to
Oh,
where to personalize that reminder, that template?
okay. Actually, I'm going to share the Keeper, our demo account, and walk through
Perfect.
that. So let me share that screen. All right. You guys can see Keeper all right here.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so to customize those, you're going to come up here to your templates. From here, you're going to go to emails. And you're going to look for the one that's labeled reminder email. You're not able to change the title of this. It will always stay the same. And this will always be the email that gets used for those automated reminders. You can see here that I changed the subject line. I added something in there just to really catch their attention. And of course, you can personalize your signature as well. Now for the text, you'll come over here to the text tab. And it's right here for your reminder text as well. So you can edit this.
And I want to make sure to mention when we're talking about customizing these two areas, emails and text, need to be saved. This is not an area of Keeper that auto saves. So to save yourself some headache of erasing all of the hard work that you just did to find the perfect wording, make sure and hit that purple, blue, blurple save button up in the top right.
Yes. And if you're new to customizing, you can use these merge
And then,
tags
yeah, go ahead.
to add in here. That's where this came from. You just click on it and it'll copy it, and then you can paste it into your thing here, and then you can preview it to know what it looks like. What were you gonna say, Erica?
I was just going to mention merge tags as well. So I think we were on the same track there. One other thing that's come up in the chat that I think is good to talk about in this vein is, Jody, how would you handle, and let's kind of brainstorm for anybody who is sending these reminders out, they're going into their client portal, they feel like they're doing a really great job on that, and then their clients email them those reports instead of inside of the portal. So let's kind of talk about how we can adjust the wording or kind of pad ourselves in the right direction on that front.
Yeah, that's a great question and a popular one for sure. My number one recommendation is to redirect. So always respond through the same manner that you want them to reach out to you. So if they email you, you can either redirect them to the portal for the answer, or I've seen people have like an email template response. It's always the same. That's like, we're not responding to this email, or via email, these requests need to go through the portal with the link. But just constant redirection until hopefully they learn to go through the portal, if that's the way you want them to do it. But yeah,
Yeah,
taking their
also,
question and putting it into the portal and responding from there, and then messaging them from Keeper, helps to just keep that redirection going.
yeah, I think the other thing to note is potentially playing around with the wording on your actual question itself. So please upload this document to this question, or something like that may help. Again, you're probably going to have clients who skim it, so it may not solve the problem universally, but I think it's at least erring in the right direction to make it super clear what to do with that document.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, exactly. I've seen a lot to say here, to try and give that direction to put it on this task or on this question. What other questions do we have out there today?
I don't see any other outstanding. So if you've got a question, whether it is here in this space while we're talking about client portal or automating, or if you want to start to shift into a different area that you've been thinking about,
Mhm.
feel free to start throwing those in the chat. We're kind of open for direction at this point.
Yep. Everything's fair game. And
Oh,
while we're
Jody, I
waiting for
did want
those, yeah.
to, can we go actually into the recurring questions that we have in that account?
Mhm.
One thing that I've seen as far as best practices go is to be really specific and create a question around each document that you actually
Mhm.
need. One of the things that can happen, it's a pro and con, right? Con, you're going to have more questions that your client has to answer. It's not objectively more work that they need to do. It's the same amount of uploading, but it may look a little bit more intimidating. So that's a con side of it. But what can be really helpful with strategizing that way is, one, you're hopefully erring on the side to help keep yourself organized by them. Even if that upload has a bajillion characters and is not clear what it is, you can at least have some direction on what statement that is. So there's a little bit of padding in your direction for organization's sake. But that way, if I, as the client, go through and get 3 of the 5 statements that you need, I still am getting reminder about those other 2 that you have not. And I've seen some people in the past do hey, please upload your monthly statements here. But if you have multiple accounts, it's super easy for the client to miss. And then you have to go back and forth about, hey, I'm still missing this one. So being really clear and specific can help set you up for success on that front. And Jody, there
Mhm.
is a question around, is there a report you can create pulling all transactions based on a certain customer? Can you try to crack that one?
Okay, let me make sure I understand the question. Say it again.
Yep. Is there a report you can create pulling all transactions based on a certain customer? So Cindy, if there's
Oh,
any
yes,
additional info, feel free.
I got it. All right, so to create custom reports, you're going to come down to your transaction review section. From here, you can click add report. and then you can set your parameters. So if this is customer, wow, I can't type. There we go. So you give it some kind of name so that you know what it is in your list. And then you'll come here and select customer. If you have that enabled. I don't have it enabled for this demo account, but I do have class. So that's something that I can show you. But if you have customer enabled, I believe then it would then show up here. And then you can select, like I said, the class, location, customer, whatever it is that you might have available, and then hit save, and that will bring up your report. I'm hoping that answered your question, but if it did not, please come back in and let me know.
That's a really great little dip our toe into those custom reports too. I think it's really easy to just see the default reports that are there, and those are all really cool. But even cracking the can and realizing that you can add custom reports, really interesting idea. Thanks for popping that in, Cindy.
Somebody also asked, where do you enable it? If you're asking about where to enable class, location, customers, that's going to be in your practice settings, all client settings, and there's columns for each of those. So if I come in here and enable customers, we'll test out this feature. So now that's saved. We can come back in here. Let's close that. I'm working too fast for it today. Clicking too fast. All right. So now I can come in here. You can see that once I enabled customers, the other reports that are specific to customers populate on here. If I don't want them, I can delete them and add them back later. But we can come back here to customer X and we can edit the report logic. And I can come over here and now I can choose customer. And then you can, from your drop down, select that customer.
Lovely. Thanks, Jody. It seemed like that answered the question.
Excellent. What other questions do we have today?
Next one up in the queue is from Kelsey. So is there a way to run the metrics visuals for the current year to date rather than rolling 12 months?
I believe the answer to that is no, not yet.
Cool.
So she's talking about, for those who are
yeah.
wondering, it's in the metric section here. And on the variables tab, it's going to show you a rolling 12 months. And at this point, we don't have a way to edit the dates that are showing here. And I don't believe you can create a custom one with those dates. Yeah.
That
I
looks
do
like
believe though that
may
there's
be a
a
limitation.
canny request out there for that. I'm fairly certain. So we'll
If
find
that
it.
is, yeah, I'll find that here in just 1 second for you, Kelsey. You can add in not a perfect answer, but a workaround is if there's another software like QBO or anything that you can pull that report in, you can now add that custom page to this report. So thank you,
Well,
Jody. I appreciate it.
Slight correction. You can
Yeah,
upload
please.
and publish custom reports.
Oh, beautiful.
So
Let's actually dig into that a little bit.
not
Yeah.
adding a custom page to this report. It is uploading a custom report. So there's a difference there. Here you are still limited on what you can add as far as your custom reporting. This is still limited, but if you pull a report from elsewhere, save it as a PDF, then you can upload and publish those. So you would just click to add it in and continue on your way.
Thanks for that clarification. Really appreciate it. Next question up while we're in kind of the reporting land is there a way to add a general ledger to the financial reports?
Again, I think that would come from you would have to be pulled from an outside source because it's not one of the ones that are currently selected. And in your financial reports section of your client, those are limited to the 5 that are in there right now. So that would be something you'd have to pull from elsewhere, but then you can upload it. Somebody asked if you can upload Excel, so I'm just testing that real quick.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Uh-oh. My computer may not be responding right now.
Oh
So
no.
I'm gonna stop this and hopefully my computer's not gonna crash on me. Been having issues with that lately. But we'll
Awesome.
circle back to the Excel and we'll let you know. We'll add that to our follow-up.
Thanks, Jody. And feel free to stop screen sharing if that may help on the
My
bandwidth side.
computer, y'all, technology.
Okay. Jody, do you know if Keeper is going to work for clients who have QBO Ledger? I know that's been a common question.
I do not know that answer off the top of my head.
We can see if there's been an answer in the Facebook group really quick here in between questions. Kate had a question about for financial reports in the portal, will they see all the reports or only the latest report?
Sorry, say that one more time. Can they see all of the reports
Yeah,
from
or
the
only the latest.
from the portal?
Mhm.
All right. Let me check to see what we've got loaded in there. And then I'll screen share and come back.
Oh, we did have somebody let us know that they do
Yeah.
have a client on QBO Ledger and it has been working for them. So just
Excellent.
anecdotally.
Thank you.
Good to know. Thank you. And Jody, a little bit of clarification when you're able to hop into that portal. We're talking about on that kind of initial dashboard that you drop into for that section
Right.
that says financial reports. So just so you have a little bit of direction. Thanks, Kate.
I'm just making sure that we have more than one so that we can see if it's there when we view it.
I'll answer a quick question that's come up a couple of times while
Thank
we're
you.
here. Yeah, no problem. So recordings for this meeting are going to be sent out afterward. So if you got the email initially for letting us, let's try that one more time. If you got the initial email letting you know that this Q&A was coming up about the topic, or you've registered for this call, meaning you're here, we'll go ahead and send out a recording. And inside of that recording, there'll be timestamps so you can skip to whatever section that you need to go back to. And there'll be any resources like any cannies, any Facebook posts that have been really helpful about this, any Keeper help articles. So in case anybody needs to leave or we went a little bit too fast and you need to go through that on 0.5 speed, we're happy to send that out afterward.
Almost there. Holding my breath that it doesn't crash before we're done.
Question in the chat. So the Facebook group I mentioned is the actual Keeper Facebook group. If you are not a member in there, I know not everybody uses Facebook or checks it very often. It's one of the only groups that I actually go in at this point. Super helpful, great advice, lots of lovely people to ask, questions and hear feedback about how other people are using it. So I believe it's just Keeper Facebook group, but I'll double check the wording on it so that you can search inside of Facebook.
These are the 2 that I just loaded, and both of them are showing here. I do not know if there's a limit to how many will show. Like, is it just the last two? Is it the last three? I don't know that off the top of my head. But yes, there will be multiples that show here. And then they can also always come to files, I believe. Oh no, that's what they've uploaded. Sorry.
That is
I'll
a
add
good
some more
question
while
we
we
might
do
kind
more
of, yeah,
questions. Yeah.
exactly, that we might test out. That's it on our questions. So feel free to add any more if there's anything else that you've been wanting to explore, either in topics that we've already covered, or if you want to go and kind of talk about a different topic or templates or anything like that is fair game. Kate, see
Mhm.
your hand raised. Feel free.
Yeah, also, not on the report section, but I have a client that I want to force to use, like sign in with password. And anyway, like the merge tag for that, it just says example password. And like, I don't know, like if I'm setting it up right, or, what I should do, or how, how to force that part of it.
Got it. Okay, let me get the screen share back.
Those merge tags can get a little bit interesting to kind of figure out the logic on. We actually made a little cheat sheet in our account just to keep it straight. So we're happy to kind of walk you through that.
I took that idea and I made one as well.
Love that.
But it's still that it just says example password. Like, does that
Right.
mean it's just a place saver for me to put one in? What I want them to use? How do I set that up?
How do you set
Is
it?
it-
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. Good one.
Is it showing you that when you're in your template for the email,
In
or
the
is it showing
template.
you that in the client?
Good question.
Okay, so in your emails here, let's see, onboarding.
Yeah, I know it's here where it shows where it does the.
So if I grab, let's see, portal password,
Uh-huh.
and I drop it in here, it's going to show this because this is a template. It's not connected to
Right.
anybody, and it's not connected to any contact. So it is just going to say example password here in the template. But at the client level, when you go into the portal and your contacts, it's been a while since I've done this one. No, all right. Send password reset link. So it can be something that they can set up as well.
Mhm.
I personally don't use the passwords for my small client base. So I'm not as familiar with this one, but it should be that you can send them the link and they can set their password. And I feel like it might be an option when you add a new client.
Hey, I'm going to pop a help article into the chat for you. It's at least what we know on kind of keeper passwords and resetting. So that may be a good place
Yeah,
to start.
that may be all that I've already found.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I paused there, but at least making sure you found that one.
Yeah, I think
It's
they can send the password reset link and they'll be able to set their own.
okay. Yeah, I opened my version of your merge tags reference. And so it says, and I went into a client and to view it, and it says use with URL to provide a password. That's what it popped in.
That
We might have
honestly
to
might
follow
be
up
a
with Keeper.
Yeah, I was gonna say that might be a really good keeper support question, just to clarify, honestly, but to
Mhm.
also make sure that you're getting the most up-to-date data because that may have changed
Okay.
here
Yeah.
recently or been a recent update. So that would be one that I pop into the little question box at the very bottom and just ask support about, simply to make sure that you know exactly how that works or how that would be set up or anything like that, just in case we're missing anything.
Thank you very
'Cause
much.
I feel like
Absolutely.
there was one point last year that that portion may have been going away, but then it hasn't. So it might be sticking around by popular demand, maybe. Um, but yes, we don't have any other details for you today.
Jody, while we're in here, we did
Yeah.
skip over this really quickly, and this is one that I find a lot of people may not know about. Let's talk through how to preview. So sometimes when we're having client issues with
Mm,
navigation inside of the portal or where to go, or I can't find my questions or anything like that, it can be really helpful to see their view. Do you mind
mhm.
showing us how you got to that earlier so we can even see what our clients are looking at
Absolutely.
inside of the portal?
So when you're inside your client here, click on the portal icon at the top, then come to settings. This is where you're going to see all of your contacts. This is also where you can set their access so that they can see your update files and the financial access as well. But then right over here, you've got a preview button. So it's a little eye. Click on that and it's going to open up this subpage. You can see that I've added a third financial report in here. But I have not tested out to see how many will be in there. But now you can see it and it's very similar. You can't do any of the actions like uploading or answering questions, but you can see how it will function. So you can go to every tab and see what it's going to look like from their point of view. And you can click on these buttons to do that. But you're not going to be able to answer the question. Cannot be done in preview mode. But you should be able to view everything.
And then if clients are having an issue with that like drop down to toggle between multiple clients, this may be a good area to take a screenshot of this bar at the top for where to go to switch between those.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a really useful tool to take screenshots or things for without having to add yourself into every single portal. So just wanted to talk through that because that one's kind of tricky, and almost all of us have some concern about rolling this out and what is it going to look like and what if my client has questions. So just want to enable everybody to have that tool.
Somebody asked about file access and financial access. So I'm going to take it off of this one and we'll do a comparison. So you saw here that we've got files, file drop down, and the financial reports. If you uncheck those, you're not going to have the financial reports available. You're not going to be able to see what other files are here. They can still drag and drop to upload, but they're not going to be able to go back and review them.
This can be
So
really
once
helpful.
again,
Yeah,
yeah.
sorry to cut
I
you
was
off.
just say, so once again, the financials are missing, files are missing, but if they have access, it will look like this.
And sometimes the
They can
next
review.
logical question is, when would you use this for? So this can be really helpful if you have, let's say, their assistant who can answer some questions or help you pull statements or something like that, but they are not, we don't want them to see all of the financial data. That might be a really good example just to kind of latch onto to get this kind of sticking in your brain without just rote memorization.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Actually
think that's
on
a
that,
great example is those who have assigned questions.
mhm.
So that, if you're asking the marketing department about marketing questions, they may not need to see everything else.
Yeah, let's actually cover assignable questions really quick while we're here inside of the client portal. This is set on a client by client basis.
Mhm.
So let's pop out, and it is in the same spot where we can toggle on or check email reminders. So we can set assignable questions at this point, and any recurring questions that you set, if you have assignable questions checked, you can choose who that recurring question goes to.
Yeah. When you go to enable assignable questions, it is going to pop up with this disclaimer that says, if a question is not assigned, nobody's going to see it. I'm going to say, okay. And then as Erica
That's a really good
mentioned,
reminder. I think
Yeah.
some of us have gotten caught on that before where you said it, but then we don't set who that question is to and get really confused about why it's not getting
Yeah.
answered. So thank you for that new reminder keeper. That's great.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to point out with the portal is this box here, your client portal announcement. This is set at the practice level setting and will be the same for every single client. Your resources page is something that you can set client by client. Somebody asked if you can use the financial reports for non-connected clients. So let's go into one. And we'll take a peek at that portal. So it's not going to have the financial reports section as an option here to be able to upload that report to that little financial reports section within the portal. So from here, you may just need to do it as a non-transaction question and say, you could label it, this is your financial report.
Jody,
For
could
that
you
month.
also, honest question, could you, for
No, it
non-connected
shows it's
clients, do you
there.
have files? Or could you use files for that to create a
Yes.
folder? Okay.
Yeah, you can, because you'll have. Why can't I find it? There it is. You still have your custom folders and the auto organized folders down here. You'll still have that. So there is one for financial reporting.
Beautiful. Kate, I see your hand raised. Feel free.
Yeah, that was my question. Actually, we are using custom folders and for annual tax. And that's why I was wondering if, oh, was there a better way to do it? And then I have a folder for each, like a tax documents folder, and then a folder for each year. And that's where I'm uploading their tax return, their copy. So that was why I was asking originally about the financial reports for non-connected. So,
No, I think that's a
thank
great
you.
idea. I would err on the side of probably putting it in files if you can, simply because if somebody's seen that question, or if you set it as a question and somebody's seen it but didn't mark done, it may continue to remind them about it. So
Mhm.
that may be something that you consider. And just doing a little bit of client training that anything for you is going to be in this files folder,
Yeah,
whether it's
that's
an
that's
annual or
how we have it.
anything.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
where that's kind of like when I do a review with them, I take them on a quick tour just as a reminder. It's like, this is where you'll find it. This is how you get to it.
No, I think that's great. And I love that you're showing them that on a call together, it sounds like. That
Right.
can be really helpful during your kickoff call or anytime you have a client meeting, especially if it's one of those who has a hard time kind of with that memorization piece of where to go in this new portal, can be really helpful to have their portal open and actually show that click to have a little bit more cementing. So great idea, Kate.
Yeah, I added myself as an alternate email um, as a user or as a contact on every client,
Yeah, lovely.
and then allowed so that I can log into their portal to show them
Yeah.
exactly what their portal looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. One
There-
question while you're on, have you had any, I know a common question comes up with if you're adding yourself as contacts, do you get all of those notification emails and how does that work for you?
Yes. Well, yeah, if you have reminders on, you that whatever that other email is, that email address is, you get all of the reminders as well. So I use an alias that I have then created a filter so that I don't see it.
Yeah, that's a really great idea because I know that that can be one thing that either sways people toward or against it is I either want to see all the emails that are going out so that I can have that visual piece on, or I'm nervous about getting all of those emails. So thanks for sharing a little bit of how you're kind of managing that and filtering out so you don't get bombarded with a bunch of emails.
Yeah, no problem.
Erica,
Jody,
I
You
want
guys
to
have been
add.
great help.
Oh, happy
Good.
to help, Kate. Go ahead, Kate, Jody.
I was just gonna say, I want to add to our testing list that we have, um, to check on the file section for unconnected clients, because we have the visibility. I want to make sure the one I was looking at, we don't have built out as an unconnected client, like fully built out. So I want to make sure that it shows visible and we can,
Yeah, we'll
circle
share the
back with people to
findings
let
of
them
that.
know.
You
Yeah.
have to manually, if you upload it, you have to manually mark it visible. I was actually just getting ready to type into the chat a question. Do you know if there's a canny to make it default to visible?
I'll
That's a
actually
great
look into
question.
that. Yeah, great
Yeah.
question. So I'll kind of poke around in there. We'll do some testing. I'll pop in a candy if I see it. But thanks for putting that on our radar, Jody. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. We've
So,
got about 5 minutes
yeah,
left.
go ahead.
I was just gonna
The
say, what last
yeah,
questions do you have?
exactly. That let's quickly cover how to check email history if you want to make sure a notification came out. While we're kind of talking about portal, kind of want it to be all in one spot. And then we've got a couple more quick questions here.
All right. So again, under portal, you're going to come to the message client tab. Right here at the very bottom is going to be your email history. And once you open that up, you will see something that's not in there for this demo account. Let me go to this one. But it'll show you whether it's been an automated or if it was sent by a specific person. You can also view. Oh, it's unconnected now. That's what. No, here we go. But you can also view that email history. So you can see that all of these were automated. This one was sent by me. You can see the subject. You can also view it. And if they have opened it, there'll be a little green check in here.
Awesome. Thanks. That one kind of hides around on people. So thanks for giving some visibility on that, Jody.
Also, to have visibility on whether your clients are in your portal, you can come here to last seen. So this will show you the last time they logged into that portal.
Awesome. Another question around, can we actually dive into what you can do with an unconnected client just at kind of that 10,000 foot view?
Sure. So non-closing task area, fair game. It will operate the exact same way as a connected client. Where you'll see your limitations come through are any of those reports that pull from an accounting software. So you'll see that this has a list of them, but I'm not going to be able to access it because it gives me a warning that says this is an unconnected client. It has to be connected to be able to preview those. So if I were to click on it, I'll see my checklist, but I'm not going to have any kind of report below. So that will be any of these reports here. We'll have that. You can have custom sections in here, no problem. They'll act just like a checklist, just like your other ones, but they'll repeat monthly. Your financial statements, those are the same as your other reports where they're not going to be available. You might see the titles, but if you try to open it, there will be nothing there. Outside of that, client portal pretty much works the same. Yeah, can't think of anything else to.
Yeah,
there.
biggest overview here. Oh, go ahead, Jody.
I was just gonna say your account reconciliation, you can add in the account. You can just type in an account name and have that there as a place to check. And you can have your checklists underneath it that give you the SOP if you want it, or other things that you want them to check for that task or for that reconciliation. You'll just have to manually type in the name. And of course, it's not going to be connected to anything.
That's a great reminder. I didn't realize that we could have our accounts there, and that makes it really, really easy to still keep our tasks, whether they're non-closing or our
Mhm.
QC or anything like that, and just general accounts that we need to reconcile, whether that's a QBO client or a QBD client or just somebody that we have chosen not to connect. Really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Oh, one other piece to mention just to make sure we're tying in all the knots here. So client details still work. All of your non-closing
Yes.
tasks, like Jody mentioned. Client portal works other than those transaction questions because there's no transactions to pull. But you can
Correct.
still have non-transaction questions. You can still have resources and files, anything like that. So just to paint kind of that full A to Z picture for you.
Yep. And as a reminder, with your templates, you can have a template for connected clients and you can have a template for unconnected clients so that you're still getting that consistency from client to client in how you have them set up. And it makes it really easy to recreate all of those checklists.
Great reminder. Alrighty, folks. So we might go ahead and wrap this up. We've got a little bit of a harder deadline today. So thank you all for coming. I know that
Yes.
it takes time to carve out. So appreciate you being here, being live, asking questions. This is our favorite time of the month to come in, brainstorm, answer questions, kind of be on the ball. So thank you guys for joining us. Hope you were able to grab something from this. If you are in a spot where you are likely to get overwhelmed by any new ideas that you have, pick one. Just pick one to start with. You can always come back to the recording or back to any ideas. But I know sometimes we can walk off of these calls with like, oh my gosh, I have so much to do. Oh my gosh, I have so much to do. So pick one. If you need somewhere to start, don't get yourself into overwhelm land. Just take it a step at a time and let us know if you have any questions. We're happy to, we'll share the recording like I mentioned. The slides will be in the description, and then any candies or anything that we found are also going to be in that description. So that'll be the best place to go if you need to review anything. With that, we'll go ahead and let everybody log off. Thank you so much for your time today. Really excited you
Thanks,
popped on, and
everyone.
see you next month.